without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started with the school board, the AISD discussion. We are going to do 2 minutes per question. So 2 minutes, try to keep your answer to 2 minutes, and then we're going to snake it. So first question, the Linton, and then we'll go down to the snake, and so we'll take the first question every time. So the first question that we'll talk about here is introduce yourself, what your vision is for AISD, and what steps you're going to take to achieve that goal.
Well, I probably don't need a mic, but I'll use one anyway. My name is Linton Davis. I am not a teacher. I'm not an educator. I'm not even a good PTA like some folks here are. I'm a process guy. I'm an auditor by trade, worked for Lockheed Martin for 31 years, and now doing consulting for small businesses on my own. The reason I'm running for school board is real simple. In order to redo our demographics, in order to improve our, if you will, urban situation, we have to attract young families to our home. And in order to do that, we have to have a school system that is second to none. I'm not talking about just being the best in Arlen. I'm talking about being the best in Tarrant County. Why do I say that? It's because we're competing against Mansfield, we're competing against Kennedale, we're competing against Grapevine, we're competing against Coppell, et cetera, et cetera. We have to be the best in Tarrant County. And you might say that's a low bar. Okay, I don't think so. We want to be the school district of choice, or I want us to be the school district of choice. How do we get there? Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to invest in our kids, and we have to realize that our kids are gifts from our Creator, whoever we choose to be. And that the AISD has to be, as Hillary Clinton once said, part of the village that raises our children. But we also have to hold parents accountable for being the primary instruments. So that's where we're going to go today. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Leanne Haynes, and I have served on the school board for the last 3 years. When I set out to run 3 years ago, I set out to bring a strong parent voice to our board and to ensure that our parents had a say in what was happening at the board level, at the governance level. For the last 3 years, I have worked to ensure that in the priorities we've adopted, in the work that we are doing, that the parent voice, that the student experience is at the forefront of everything that we are doing as board members. In terms of what would I do to continue moving us forward, or what my vision is, I think that you can easily look at the work we've done over the last 3 years. So as a board, under Dr. Matt Smith, who we hired a couple years ago, we have worked to adopt 5 priorities. And those priorities are our guiding lights for the work that we do. So it is important to us that we keep working on those priorities, and that we have board members that value those priorities, that value culture, and that value our resources, and that value safety and security, and that value student achievement, and that know the work that it takes to put in to achieve those things. I want to make sure that everyone out there knows that our district already is the best in Tarrant County. I know that as a parent. I have a freshman that is here this evening in high school, and I have a recent high school graduate who is excelling out there on her own thanks to her AISD education. And so my goal is to make sure that everyone knows that we already are the district of choice. We need to market ourselves better, and I want to ensure that I'm on the board to help continue us moving forward so that families come here and get to experience all that we have to offer in this district. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brooklyn Richardson. I have served the past 3 years on the board. I am a proud product of public education myself, and I have 2 children here in the district. I have a freshman and I have a 6th grader, and so our family has been able to see the effects that public education has had directly on them. 3 years ago when I ran, I thought I wanted to be a school board trustee. I wasn't sure. But I can tell you after 3 years, I know this is what I want to do. 3 years is what it takes to get it under your belt and to truly learn what we are looking at. I have been fortunate to have colleagues that are in school education themselves with Mrs. Melody Flower and Sarah McMurrow. We have a wide variety of just different traits that we bring to a board. My day job is I'm a Youth and Children's Director at Westminster Presbyterian Church, and I am very proud of the fact that I get to be with kids all day long by choice. If I wanted to think about what do I want to keep doing moving forward to be a part of AISD, Trustee Haynes, you talked about our 5 district priorities that we've adopted. They are so important. This is something that we didn't take lightly. We put a lot of thought into. But where my thought goes right now is I'm going to share what we are proud of. We hear a lot of the negative, we hear the complaints, and you always hear one bad review cancels out the 300 good things. We have a lot to be proud of. And that is where we need to make sure each campus is able to share their individual stories, because just like education looks different for every single student, so do our campuses across the district. We know that not everybody has the same needs, from families to students. As we move forward together, we have a great path set by Dr. Smith, but now we need to do the governance and the policy work is what we are recommended, and that is our goal that we have to do. We have to stay in our lane.
Good evening, my name is Jan Tyler. I've lived in Arlington for 46 years. I am a lifelong educator in public education for 46 years. I taught in Arlington School District for 33 of those years. Currently, I'm an at-risk director at a charter school in Dallas, where I am working with teachers that have children that are not successful. And I hope to bring that experience for sure to Arlington. The reason I'm running, over the years, I have been present at many school board meetings, one time till 1 o'clock in the morning, fighting for a 1% board increase in salary for teachers. I've held signs and have supported board members in the past. I'm finally in a place where I can kind of make my dream come true. I want to share the experiences of my 46 years in Arlington, in another school district, and where I'm coming from now. The school that I'm at right now has an A rating. They've always been graded A. I'm in an elementary school of 540 kids with the same pretty much demographics as what Arlington has. But this school, of course, the district is much smaller, and I understand that those will be some problems. My vision is really easy. I want every teacher in Arlington to feel the way I did every day I came to school. I was thrilled to be there. I worked with the most amazing people. And the way I think we can do that, I have talked to board members over the years. The discipline is an issue. I think it holds us back. The teachers are killing themselves. The students are trying to learn. But discipline, we just need another program. I don't know if any of you remember, at one time we had Boys Town skills, and those were great. I also, as far as the vision goes, I'd like to see our educational outcomes improved, and I think that would be accomplished possibly with a better discipline program. Also, in watching school board members, I think that Dr. Smith is the man for the hour. I think this is a turning point for the school district. I think it's just very, very important. I would love
Leanne, you're going to start this next one. Next question. What metrics matter the most when evaluating district success? And then are there changes to the statewide accountability system that you advocate for?
So currently, under the current metrics from the state, our elementary and our junior highs are evaluated on a test, on a one-day test. That is how they are receiving their evaluations. Our high schools are also evaluated on a test, but we take into account their CCMR, graduation rates, various things. I would advocate and have advocated that, hold it further away so I can help, that we look at ways to assess our schools based on the things that matter to me as a parent, that matter to my children, and that is going to be, what do the programs of choice look like in our district? What does participation in those look like at the campus level? Are the parents and the staff, are they happy on the campus? Are the surveys that are going out to them, are they showing improvement? I think that all of that can be taken into account and used to assess our campuses. I also, at the state level, believe that we should be advocating that any campus, any school that is receiving public dollars is held to the same metrics. And currently, that is not the case. Our public schools are held to a one-day test metric, and our private schools that are receiving money are able to receive rates in a very completely different way. And I think that it should be a level playing field, and we should be able to have an accurate grade of the work that's happening in our district.
Will you repeat the question, Todd?
Work here. What metrics matter the most when evaluating district success beyond just test scores? And then are there changes to the statewide accountability system that you'd like to see?
So the metrics that I want to make sure that we are looking at is our staff surveys, but also our parent surveys. That right there is where we are going to get direct feedback from our community. In fact, we have initiatives right now and incentives per campus to make sure that these are being filled out so we can have as much participation as possible. During that process, those answers are audited, and then we are putting into practice not only what we hear, but the suggestions, because so often the best suggestions you hear and you learn from are the people in the trenches doing the work. It's really easy to sit up on the bench or maybe down in the state and say, this is how we should do it, until you're actually doing the work and you see what needs to be done. If we were going to do things differently on the state level, I would encourage them to come into our classrooms and see one day is what you're judged on. Man, if I was having a bad day, I would hate for that to be the day that I was judged on. Thank goodness that's not how we are judged in life. Our kids shouldn't be held to that standard either. I am very proud of the fact that I have served on our governance committee and that we have gone down together, in fact with Trustee Haynes as our chair, and we have commented, we have spoken at open mics, we have visited with our state reps to advocate that they make changes. We need to make sure our voices are heard, and that is part of what we do in Arlington ISD as trustees. We speak to the people. We try to make sure that they understand what they're doing often isn't helping our teachers. In fact, what they're doing is putting a gold star next to their name. It does not make and move the needle the way we need it to. So as we move forward, I would encourage us, but also our PTAs, the people who are here present, to make sure that they are part of that process, because every voice does matter.
The metrics. The state accountability system was so flawed. There's no teacher that I know of who had any credibility for the STAR test. I went down to Austin now, the House said that they were willing to get rid of the STAR test, and oh my gosh, I was doing the happy dance. The stress and the anxiety it puts on teachers and the kids is wrong. And you all would die if you know, in third grade, the third grade reading test, the kids only have to get 50% to meet the standard. Okay, so the test is so hard that they don't even expect anybody to get the 70% mark. They lower it. The passing rate to meet the standard in third grade reading is to only get 50% of the answers right. It's horribly flawed, but going back, try to fight, so now they've extended the STAR test for 2 more years, which I think is putting our kids in torture. And that's how their accountability, and then all the metrics that they have for all the distinctions that a district can get. Teachers know their kids, they know they were successful, but you wouldn't know by the state, looking at it. So that's just a huge, and it's going away. And one of the ways that the kids will be tested is the math test, which does beginning, middle, and end testing. Our school used it, Arlington used it, and it's very successful. It shows growth, it shows achievement, and it's a good sign. And of course, the other metric is that your families are happy and they're supportive of your schools and your kids are happy and they're successful. But the state accountability surely is a deterrent for so many things of really evaluating in school. Right now, that's all we've got, apples to apples.
Okay. I really don't need a mic, but that's okay. The bottom line is real simple. There's not anybody up here, there's probably not any teacher that I know of that likes the STAR test. Okay? But we teach to the STAR test because we've got to make this grade and we gotta achieve our goals. Well, wrong answer. Forget the STAR test. Let's just teach our kids how to think. Let's teach them how to read. Let's teach them how to write. Teach them how to do arithmetic. Teach them to think for themselves and let the test scores fall where they may. I happen to be an advocate for a test that we did back when I was in school. Some of you may remember the Iowa Test of Basic Skills. That's a very objective analysis as to how our kids are doing. The thing that's been mentioned in here that we talk about, parental satisfaction, I think parental satisfaction needs to be redefined. Because parents don't need to be focused on, well, is my kid occupied? Are we doing okay? We need to be focused, we need to help our parents focus on child excellence. This is why I say this. Our kids are a gift from our Creator, wherever you go that day. And the bottom line is the single biggest ministry that any of us will ever have as parents. I had it, Leanne's got it, Brooklyn's got it, Jan's had it. Most of you guys have had it. The single biggest ministry that we have is our children and helping them to become the person that God created them to be. Thank you very much.
Okay, next question, this is on behalf of the Council of PTAs. The national PTAs has support for the Protecting Sensitive Locations Act, which essentially is prohibiting immigration enforcement within 1,000 feet of a sensitive location like a school. Are you in favor of this, or how should the district be looking at immigration enforcement around schools?
Here's my job as a trustee. It doesn't matter what I believe. It matters what I enforce and what I hold to be true with governance. That is the job of a trustee. We don't get to operate on what we personally would do because we are operating on behalf of our community. In Arlington ISD, what we are committed to doing is to cooperating with our police department. We have an amazing police chief in Al Jones. We have a good working relationship with them. We have worked hand in hand to make sure that our students feel safe, they feel secure, they can focus on learning, and they are not worried who's about to come in their classroom and rip them away. We are going to always cooperate with law enforcement. Always. That's our duty. That is what we hold our principals accountable to. It's what we hold our teachers accountable to. But at the end of the day, we want our students safe. For PTA, they literally believe in their slogan is a voice for every child. We want to be a voice for every child, so when they come in, they know that they came in safe and they are going to leave safely. We are going to lean on Arlington PD to continue to make sure that happens, and that is all that I have to do as a trustee. I don't have to personally go either way. I don't have to go on that campus. In fact, my job is not to go on that campus and get in the middle of that. But I want to make sure at the end of the day that our families know their students are safe in Arlington, no matter where they come from.
As a trustee for the AISD, I would have to say that our job is to keep our kids safe. And emotional emotionally safe too. Because we have such a high Hispanic population in Arlington, I would feel like I'd have to be an advocate for the fact that the school would be a safe zone. Kids can, I know some of the stress in moms and dads and when they send their kids out the door. We don't want kids not coming to school because they're afraid of something that's going to happen at school. And so, I certainly, definitely believe in whatever the law is, that's what it should be. But the parameters that you gave for the safety of our kids, as at-risk coordinator right now, the highest amount of 504s, which is a federal protection plan, is anxiety in these little kids. I'm in a school kindergarten to 6th grade, and the anxiety level is really high. And, a lot of it comes from the family and what's going on at home. So, as the unknown, not having to make decisions, I look at it from just the viewpoint of the students and the fact that they need to feel safe at school. And that's the way I'll make decisions. Is it good for the kids? Is it good for the parents, the teachers, and even the taxpayers, fiscally responsible? But sitting here right now and only knowing the information that I have, I would say that a priority is to keep our kids safe and not nervous and not anxious, but knowing that it's a safe place. And for the parents to send them to school. We can't have high absenteeism. We need the kids at school. Thank you.
Well, I can't argue too much with the first two responses. Obviously, safety for our kids is a paramount issue. And I agree, the mental safety as well as the physical safety is critically important. So I'm not an advocate of activities going on around schools. I think parents need to feel safe as well. In Tarrant County, we have a really good working relationship between ICE and the Sheriff's Department in that they basically work with Sheriff Wayborn to pick up people that are criminal elements, which is what we want to focus on, as opposed to anybody else that's toe the mark and working like they're working to better themselves, whether they're here legally or not. The kids ought not to be the focus of what we're doing. They need to be able to learn and be able to feel safe in a collective environment where safety is important. To make sure that safety is very important, we have a no tolerance for classroom disruptions policy. We need to say what we do, and we need to do what we say, and enforce that policy in order to make sure that our administration is supporting our principals, and our principals are supporting our teachers. We don't need any kind of stuff going on in our classrooms that would disrupt the education process or make a child feel uncomfortable. Thank you.
So each of the other individuals up here has mentioned safety, and I agree safety needs to be taken into consideration when we're discussing this. One thing that wasn't mentioned is that public schools are here. The fundamental reason they're here is to educate any child that walks through those doors, regardless of where they come from, what their situation is, what their background is, or what their parents may or may not be doing. And so I think that as a trustee, I hold that in my heart. That is what I'm here for, is to support that education. And so if that is the law, I'm going to adhere to whatever the law says. Currently, it says that we are going to have our schools be a safe space because that is what they are for these children.
Thank you. Fourth topic. The district is projecting a $70 million budget deficit over the next 3 years. I think that's been pretty widely reported. What specific steps would you take to work on reducing that budget deficit while preserving the student experience.
I think everything has to be looked at and reevaluated. I know the district did a curriculum assessment and sent out an inventory to all the teachers so they get some feedback about curriculum. They tried a curriculum 2 years ago. It's already in a closet. It was a phonics program that failed. Money was spent on that. I as a teacher, oh my goodness, I got lots of opinions of how money was spent. We need to get information from the teacher. What do you absolutely need? What does your classroom need? We need feedback from the teachers. What do your kids need? And if it's not on there, then let's scrap it. I don't think trimming the budget will be a problem at all, truthfully. When you get down to brass tacks and you get feedback, what do the parents need? You know, and of course I'm simplifying this, I understand. But there is waste. And you know, the district is losing kids. When I retired, there were 65,000, and they're projecting, you know, to be under 50 next year, which is really hard to believe. But our city's aging, and so there's some natural, and all the, you know, and I know the board has addressed the fact that people are leaving, and that's another reason why I really would like to have a voice. I want people to stay in Arlington. We're all property owners. We want Arlington to thrive, and it should thrive in every way, and our schools need to thrive. But I do feel like if we really get feedback, if we really know what the needs are, if we really know, you know, even if it's school buildings or maintenance, and I hear things where teachers, there's buckets in some classrooms right now, I can name the schools, but I'm not going to do that, where, you know, maintenance is needed. So I think prioritizing, I think having a new superintendent, he's got his feet wet now after 2 years, that I think there will be changes. I think we can do it.
Well, as the business process guy, look, I'm very simply going to advocate for zero-based budgeting. And that is, we take every program, we start at zero, and every program has to be rejustified on a not annual basis, but on a recurring basis, say every 2 years. I think we can eliminate a significant amount of waste that way. As Jan has mentioned, we are down from 62,000 to 50,000. We need to consolidate facilities. I know as parents, that can be painful because you don't want to lose your local school. We have some buildings that probably need to be, that have lived a useful life. Let's just say it like that. So we need to consolidate. We need to eliminate. We don't need to be continually hiring if our student enrollment is going down. So we need to right size our administration. We need to right size, make sure that teachers have what they need to teach, and zero tolerance for discipline in the classroom, and then eliminate the waste. We've got programs that were good 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We don't necessarily need to keep them now. We need to do what's appropriate for our kids now. That includes vocational as well as college preparatory training.
Thank you. Okay, so the question, if I understand it, was what are ways that we can decrease the deficit without compromising the student experience in the classroom, right? Okay. So the answer to that is you can't. You can't. 85% of our budget is people, is staff. That leaves a very, very small percentage of space to make those cuts, if you will. So what we can do is, knowing that the student experience is important to getting families to want to come to Arlington, which would generate revenue for our district and help with the deficit, we need to keep doing the things we are doing as a district. We are currently expanding zero-based budgeting amongst all of our departments in the district. We are doing that. We have a committee of stakeholders that come together and work with our budget department to make recommendations to the board, and we need to continue to lean on them for those recommendations and listen to their feedback. And we also need to continue marketing ourselves and making us a district that families want to move to. Advocacy is also a huge piece in that. As trustees, we need to make it a priority to continue to go down to Austin and to advocate for a change in the way that public schools are funded. At the end of the day, we are not the only district facing a deficit, and we are facing a deficit because the state has put us in this position.
Thank you for saying that, Willie. There is no way that we can maintain the same student experience. How do you provide more with less? If we truly want to offer the best student experience and we want to be the #1 district that families come to, we have to figure out how to right-size our district while making the best use of our buildings. Right now, we don't have the best use of our buildings. Our students aren't all in buildings that are equitable among each other. We are going to have to make the hard decisions, like we already did, to take Blanton offline. That was one of the hardest things we have ever done, but we did it because it was the right thing to do. We need to look at the capacity of these buildings and say, where do we need to be putting our funds? Our teachers, our staff is at 88% of our budget. I dare you to look them in the face and say, you're not needed as a teacher. They are working their tails off because our students are different than they have ever been before. Than when I was in school. We have special needs in our schools that we have never seen, from anxiety to special education. We are trying to adequately meet those needs, and to do that, you do need more personnel. We are going to continue to go down to Austin, and we are going to advocate that they do not fund us on a daily attendance rate. That is not fair for kids to be told you need to show up to school for your school to get paid. Parents do not need that pressure. So for us to be successful and to take care of our schools, we need to fully fund public schools before we worry about these charters. We need to put our students and families first, and we need to right-size our district to make sure our kids are being educated in the best quality buildings with highly qualified, well-paid teachers with the curriculum instruction that they need.
Okay, last question, last topic here for the discussion. We've talked about declining enrollment. We've talked about a decrease in state funding. So those will, I think everybody here would agree, are probably the two biggest obstacles, challenges facing the district. So outside of those two things, what would then be the next biggest obstacle, challenge, threat, whatever you want to say, to the district, and then specifically how you as a trustee can address that?
First thing I would do, y'all realize that the AISD is the single biggest landowner in the city of Arlington? Everybody realize that? So the first thing I'm going to do is right-size the district by looking at what our needs are, what our current needs are, what we think a reasonable projection for our future needs are, and begin to make the use of our assets the most efficient we can. That would help us from the standpoint of bonds. If we could sell some property that we're never going to use, then maybe we don't have to come back to the taxpayer and ask for so much in bonds. Folks, the truth of the matter is we have to improve education. We have to improve student outcomes by teaching our kids how to think. We have a C-rated district on an A-rated budget. The answer is not to throw more people. The answer is not to throw more money. Arlington High School is beautiful. I want to take a tour of it. It's on my list of things to do. But I want to see exactly what we've done. Because, look, I grew up at Eastern Hills High School in Fort Worth. We didn't have any of this nice stuff. I think it's great, but we have to keep the taxpayer in mind. That to me is the single biggest threat that we have to deal with in the AISD outside of keeping our students safe. keeping our teachers on track to do what they do best. Remember, teaching is a calling. It's not a profession. We need to allow our teachers to do what they do best. Thanks very much for coming out, y'all.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. I get a lot of one-line questions, try to get a lot into it. Try to get a lot into it. So I think everybody generally will agree, declining enrollment and decreased state funding, those are two big issues. What else would you put on that after those two things? What would the next one be? And then as a trustee, what can you actually do to address it?
So the great thing about being the incumbent and doing the work for the last 3 years is that we are addressing both those needs, which we already spoke to, declining enrollment and state funding. We're also focusing on the other priorities that we adopted. We made it a point to make sure that culture is at the forefront of everything we're doing. Good culture on a campus, at a district, good culture everywhere is going to drive all the other priorities in the positive direction. Good culture is going to drive student achievement. Good culture and good compensation, which we currently have. We have adopted a 4% raise each year that we have been on the board. All of those are going to drive a positive culture and a district that not only teachers want to come to, but they want to stay. And that is, at the end of the day, going to make our district the place that it needs to be. What I can do as a trustee and a parent for that is to continue to tell that story. So I have 2 children that are going through our system, and one has already gone through, and it has prepared both of them for life. It has given them skills and opportunities that they would not have had in Fort Worth ISD. They would not have had it in Mansfield ISD or Grand Prairie ISD. And it's my job to continue to shout that and tell the story and to share the positive culture and all the good that we have going on in our district.
I want to echo what you said, because I think the culture is it. I have these 2 kids here in this district that I want to shout it from the mountaintops about what our kids have been able to do. I'm talking about a freshman right now who can read, write, and speak Spanish fluently. If you were in a private charter school, you don't have those same opportunities where you can do that, but you can also go and get your fine arts. You can also go to a STEM program. You can go to a P-Tech program, a culinary program. Our offers here in Arlington ISD are a 1 in a million, because you also get a sense of community. And a lot of times you lose that community when you go to these bigger schools. What I would want us to really focus on right now is our academic growth. And it's not because I want to, it's because we have to. Because of our state regulations right now, academic growth has to be at the forefront. We have to make sure that our instruction is being held tightly to what we believe to make sure our student achievement is hitting the mark, but also that we are closing the gap. And we need to close the gaps in all schools, not in certain demographics, not in certain grades. We need to make sure all of those are being closed. What that looks like is when we did a curriculum audit, which is a deficit audit, it looked at everything we need to do better. We took those and we are currently implementing those. It didn't go on a shelf, it's a living document that we are making sure that our students are going to grow, our teachers are going to know. It's hard sometimes to be told as a professional you could do something better. But our staff is so great, they're willing to hear it and meet those challenges because they also want the best for academic growth for our students.
I think what's ahead of us is a boogeyman called the state scrutiny. Arlington is on a watch list, and it's because of the 26 schools that they consider are underachieving. In Tarrant County, out of 27 school districts, we're 4th from the bottom. And this is why I'm running for school board. We cannot do that. And I know the board, I watch the meetings, they are working at it. They've been working at it. In the last 3 years, we've been a C, and we've gotten 1 point higher every year. We've got to do more than 1 point higher. I would just love to be able to have the opportunity to help this district. We must improve our educational outcomes. We've got to look at curriculum. We've got to see how many minutes we have on instruction every day. Teachers tell me they have minutes stolen all the time. They're very frustrated with that. A lot of minutes go to discipline. So I think, other than, not getting enough state funding or not, feeling like, to me, that's what we need to fear, is that we just want our school district to rise. And I think we have to make a little bit higher, faster growth. And I do think that educational outcomes, the district does great things. They're doing interventions, they're doing extensions, they're working at it. And I'll tell you the truth, I am not running against anything. I am running for education. I just want us to have good schools. I just want to, have an opportunity to bring my experience to improving our schools at an educational basis. And the kids are learning and everything else must be fine. I think that's the thing that lies ahead that could be a problem.
Okay, that's it. Thank you guys. Round of applause.